A video with a difference today. No bike reviews, but something very special inside this case. No, not a rifle as it looks, but a deconstructed Moots titanium frame that I'm really happy and lucky to be able to share with you viewers today. I'm actually testing a Moots road bike as well. There'll be a full review on my channel very soon, so make sure you hang around if you want to see that. But inside here is something I don't think many people get to see. So Moots here in the UK are looked after by Saddleback, a distributor of various brands like Castelli, Cidi, MV and so on. And they support their dealers and bike shops by going around with this huge case that show the quality and workmanship of this famous long-running bike brand. And they give me the opportunity to share it with you today. So let's crack it open and have a closer look. Ready for the big reveal? There we go, look at that. Isn't that incredible? That is insane. I've never seen anything like this in all my years of bike testing. So we have various parts of a Moots frame and accessories. We've got their head tube with a famous head badge. We've got a bottom bracket junction with a down tube, seat tube and chainstays. We've got 3D printed dropouts. We've got a pair of auto titanium stems and a pair of titanium seat posts. You can also use this to customize your frame as well with Chris King headsets, bottom brackets available in a selection of colors. Look at all those colors. Isn't that cool? And something else in that case I'll show you at the end. So younger viewers might not be familiar with Moots, but older viewers will be very aware of this brand. So let me know in the comment section below if you know about Moots and if you own a Moots and what the company means to you. For me, just a quick history lesson before I dive into the components. I was mountain biking in the 90s as a teenager, really exciting sport, big American influence, and Moots was a brand I read about in American imported magazines, doing amazing work with titanium, which itself was a rare and exclusive and very expensive material developed during the Cold War. So the Russians used it for making submarines and the Americans used it for making planes like the SR-71 Blackbird, the fastest military plane ever made, I think. And the bike industry started using it in the 80s and 90s, had a brief moment in the pro peloton. I think Magnus Bagstad rode his Paris-Roubaix victory on a titanium Bianchi, and Moots transitioned from steel in the 80s to titanium in the 90s, and they basically not looked back since. They never dabbled with carbon or aluminium or gone back to steel. They only work with titanium. The quality on show here really is spectacular, both with the quality of the welds, but also inside as well, really neat and tidy. Sometimes frames can look really messy on the inside, but pretty on the outside. This is not the case, just as nice inside as on the outside. And the titanium the company uses is also US sourced. It's a typical 3/2.5, so 3% aluminium and 2.5% vanadium, and it's sourced in the US. It's seamless as well, so there's no welds. Sometimes you get a metal plate and you roll it over to form a tube and then weld it, but this not is seamless, cold worked, so very nice tubes. And you can see the quality of the welds which really stand out. So they're double pass welds. So rather than go over the welds once, they go over them twice. And that delivers benefits according to Moots of extra strength, and it also gives a really, really neat finish. But of course, you're welding something twice, so it means twice the labor, and that is why the cost of the frame is a little bit higher than some other frames, but gives the most spectacular, extraordinary finish. Probably the neatest titanium tube welding I've ever seen. Really lives up to the reputation of the company. It is stunning. I mean, they're so neat. I mean, I'd be really proud if I could weld as neat as that. That is hours and years of training and expertise on show there. And it's not on the outside as well, it's really neat on the inside as well. You can see how neat the tubes are on the inside as well. So yeah, beautiful on the inside as it is on the outside. Quite stunning. Also on the head tube, we can see the really cool and interesting head badge. I don't think a lot of bike brands spend much time on head badges anymore, which is a real shame. Back in the 70s and 80s, there's a real trend for distinctive, unique head badges, but Moots have been using this head badge since they began. And it's an alligator riding a bicycle. So Moots was actually founded by Kent Eriksson in the early 80s, And the rumour has it that when he was a child at school, he had a pencil eraser with a alligator riding a bicycle on the end of it. And that's what inspired him, something that's come to life in a head badge. So yeah, that's an interesting story behind the head badge, not just a random reason of having a alligator riding a bicycle, something that inspired him during his childhood and carried it through to his bike brand. Now Kent is no longer involved with Moots. He left a few years ago, formed his own company under his own name, but Moots is still going strong under new ownership. So that's a really cool head badge. And it's actually screwed onto the head tube, and you can see the pins or screws on the inside as well. So that's a really neat detail. Got a bottom bracket, oversized down tube, seat tube, big chainstays. Now you can customise the tube dimension to suit your preference, and they have a range of bikes, gravel bikes, road bikes. So the tube dimensions will differ from each model, but the quality of the welding in what is quite a tricky area with chainstays, the little chainstay bridge, and where the seat tube and the down tube meet, that must be a really tricky area to weld. But again, the weld quality here is phenomenal. Sometimes in this area you can see a bit of kind of an afterthought when it comes to welding on cheaper frames, but no shortcuts here, absolutely stunning. Then we have 3D printed dropouts. Now 3D printing is a key trend in the bike world at the moment. We've seen quite a few companies dabbling with 3D printed parts and dropouts in particular. And my first experience of 3D printed dropouts was Charge Bikes here in UK quite a few years ago. Mason also doing 3D printed dropouts, and Moots working with a local firm. They don't do this in-house, they work with a local firm that specialises in 3D printing to develop a 3D printed dropout. And the reason is you can have a really complex shape like this with a flat mount disc brake, got a through axle on the end, and then you can remove material from the inside and from inside there and keep it as light as possible but as strong as possible. And this is using the tougher 6-4 titanium as well. So a really neat component, and it integrates really nicely into the frame, as I show you on the fully built bike I'm also riding at the moment. Now a unique feature of a 3D printed component is this slightly roughened texture you get, which is a real hallmark of a 3D printed component. And it's very distinctive compared to the very smooth titanium tubes on the frame elsewhere, but they've done a really nice job of integrating that component into the frame. I think it looks really cool. So that is a 3D printed dropout. Pretty neat. So using the latest flat mount standard through axle, 12mm through axle, very much on trend. So that's a frame, or part of the frame anyway. And then we have stems and seat posts, which you can also get in titanium as well. So we've got a choice of 2 stems, just illustrating the different lengths you can get. So slightly longer, and there you go, really. Not much to say about stem, is there? But again, the quality here is stunning. Got Moots written on the back, got a 2-bolt clamp, very, very neat. Not a titanium faceplate, that'd be an aluminium faceplate, the black part, but titanium bolts as well. So very lightweight, probably really stiff as well, really thin tubing, and the way they've welded the bolt section onto the back is just really, really neat. I mean, that's a tricky component to weld, that has to be said, and that is, yeah, pretty stunning. So titanium stems and also titanium seat posts as well. Got an inline and a layback, and the layback simply they bend the tube to give 15-20 millimeters of setback, I think it is, and a very nice simple single bolt clamp on the top. Yeah, titanium frame, titanium stem, titanium seat post, yeah, I think so. And then you've got a polished logo on the front there. So that's a frame, well, part of the frame anyway. And then we have Chris King components, so really close partnership between Moots and Chris King. And if you spend your money on a Moots frame, which aren't cheap, you're not going to skimp on parts. And this gives you the opportunity to really customize the frame. So we've got external threaded bottom brackets, of course, 68mm threaded bottom bracket, and a semi-integrated headset in a choice of colours. Look at all those colours. That is really cool. Nice stack of headset spaces there. What colour will you choose? We go simple, black, silver, or we go for some colour, or glossy, or matte as well. Let me know what you think down below. Which one will you choose? I'm not sure which one I choose. I'll probably go for red, I think. But then it depends on the decals you choose on the frame. Lastly, inside the box is something kind of cool that tells you about the company and their sort of ethos, really. So when you build a frame, you cut all the tubes and you're milling it to shape and size. You're trying to minimize as much waste as possible, both from a financial point of view and also just the environment as well, trying to minimize waste. And what it's done is captured some of the offcuts during the process of making a frame, which is put in a bottle for you to have as a little memento. And at the factory, they capture all this in a big bucket or bin, and they take it to a local recycling firm. They recycle it, so it doesn't go to waste, doesn't get dumped in the ground, it gets recycled and put to use somewhere else. So that's pretty cool, but a little memento there to show you what goes into a frame. So attention to detail is really quite stunning, as you'd expect, for a company that's been making nothing but titanium frames since the 90s. They really have made titanium their kind of pride and joy. So that is an interesting and rare glimpse inside a Moots titanium frame, well, parts of it anyway, just to give you an idea of the quality that this company is famous for. You can really see firsthand how good that quality is. Now Moots, as I said earlier, they only do titanium and they do it really well. They've been doing it since the 90s. They're a company that don't chase trends or fashion. They move at a steady pace and they make changes when they need to. And the last few years, we've seen some nice updates, gravel bikes, 3D printed dropouts, disc brakes as well. So keeping their frames very modern and contemporary while maintaining that sort of traditional classic appearance they have and that they're well known for. And I just think it's incredible that titanium is still as popular as it is, probably more popular than it ever used to be. Prices have come down, it's more accessible than it used to be, but still an expensive choice. But despite the popularity and low prices of carbon fibre, there's still a growing number of people who rather have a titanium frame because of all the benefits it provides. It's an elegant looking material, it's really strong, doesn't rust, could last a lifetime as well. And that's why a lot of people buy titanium, the last bike you ever buy. They have a timeless appearance as well. And while prices are lower than they ever used to be, and there's more choice than there used to be, a lot of the frames are made in a factory in the Far East. Nothing wrong with that, but there aren't many brands doing it the Moots way, by hand, in a small factory, the same way they've done it for the last 30 years by people really passionate about riding and making the finest bicycles they can. And that does go some way to justify the price tags that a Moots frame does command. And I think this attention to detail here on the show really does illustrate that point, that they're doing something they've been doing for a long time and they do it to the highest level possible. And if you do care about where your frame is made and who it's made by and the quality and care that's gone into it, then something like a Moots is definitely going to appeal. Now, I'm not here to sell a Moots frame to you, that's not my job. I'm just sharing this with you and really sharing my soft spots I do have in Moots as a teenager growing up, reading about Moots and US bike mags as this rare and exotic material and brand that really captured the appeal, the essence of titanium frames in a way that no other brand really has, I don't think. So yeah, Moots, a special brand in the bike world, special prices as well. So yeah, that has been a Moots frame deconstructed. I've been privileged, I think, to share it with you, and I hope you've enjoyed this video, this unusual video, insight into what makes a Moots frame so special. So let me know what you think of Moots down below. Is it a brand you've got a soft spot for like me, or you've never heard of them before, but maybe you have heard of them now? And as I said earlier, I am reviewing a Moots frame at the moment, and it's going very well, really enjoying the ride. And that review is coming up very soon, so make sure you subscribe down below if you don't want to miss that. Got any questions about this, put them down below as well. I'll do my best to answer them. That's all for now. This is going back, and I'll see you all again in the next video. Thanks for watching.